Hello people of the world, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee Chats with Jax. So something that I feel like I've been learning a lot about and talking a lot about this year in particular is getting in touch with our bodies and learning how trauma is stored in our bodies and what that means for us and how we notice that, and also just learning how to listen to our bodies, like when they tell us that they are hungry or thirsty or tired or really need to be alone or really need to be with people, and just learning what exactly it is that our bodies need. Because a lot of the times, in specifically from my experience, evangelical culture, we're taught to ignore our bodies because what our bodies desire is evil, we're told. If our hand causes us to sin, then cut it off. That's a whole separate video that I probably have talked about before, but this thing that I noticed is that I cannot remember the last time I did not feel really painful tension in my shoulders, like right here. And it kind of feels like, you know, when you like put your shoulders up when you're tense or you're nervous or you're like on guard for something like this, like that's how they feel all the time. And I can't remember the last time I didn't feel that way. And so I've never really thought anything of it. I just kept talking about how I need to get a massage, or I would try and rub it by myself, and it just doesn't go away. And so in therapy last week, I brought it up to my therapist, and I asked her, I was like, I felt hesitant to bring it up because my thing is not wanting to make a big deal out of things. And I felt like by trying to bring up this thing about my shoulders and see if it has something to do with trauma was me making a big deal about it. But I decided to forget that and just bring it up anyway, because that mindset I'm trying really hard to work against these days. So I told her about that. She asked me why I thought my shoulders were tense, and I told her that I thought they felt like they were like always on guard for something. I didn't really think about it before, but it just made sense. And she asked me what they're looking out for, and all I could think of was pain. Like they're trying to protect me against pain, whether that's through relationship, which is honestly the most common way I've experienced pain in my life, or honestly, yeah, that is kind of what they, I feel like, look out for. And she asked me to close my eyes and to imagine that tenseness in my shoulders, the tenseness that is on guard, looking out for me, trying to protect me against pain, and to have that part of my body listen to the sound of the horses, because there were horses there, obviously. And she said, it's going to sound weird, but that's what she asked me to do. And it did sound kind of weird, but I somehow have found it in me to trust her more than I trust most people. I'm closing my eyes and it's just silent, and I'm listening to the horses eat the grass and breathe and make their little horse noises, and the wind and the birds, and it's just, I'm picturing my shoulders, which for some reason I pictured as surfboards. I didn't say that to her, but that's just what came to my head. And I let it listen to the horses, and I got really emotional. Like, I wanted to start crying. And it was weird because I was just imagining this tenseness in my body listening to the sound of the horses, and things weren't getting better. They just were. And so I did that for a little while, and then I finally asked if I could open my eyes. And she asked me what that felt like, and all I could think of was that it felt like this holy knowing, like this sacred awareness. It's like the sounds of the horses were talking to the tension in my shoulders and telling me that, like, all of this happened. Like, your story is real. It happened. But you are safe here, and we are going to take care of you here. And it made me want to cry because I feel like I'm getting goosebumps right now, but I've only really felt that truly in depth maybe like 2 or 3 times in my whole entire life, to that extent. And a lot of it reminded me of the times back when God made a lot more sense than God does right now. I used to close my eyes when I was really into church. I would close my eyes during worship, and I would picture me and God in some big golden field, and I'd be resting my head on God's shoulder, and it just felt like this holy knowing. Everything was there, like it was all present. There was no piece of my story that I was hiding or pretending wasn't that big of a deal, or pretending didn't happen, because that's my strategies, is to ignore and belittle. I wasn't doing that. Like we knew what was real, but I was safe there. I don't know what's more healing than that. Like, the only other time that comes to my mind right now of that happening is when I was having this beach picnic with my best friend last year. I wrote about it in my book, Finding Home, actually. We're sitting there, and I was kind of dreading this beach picnic because I wanted to have good updates for my friend. Like, I wanted to tell her that I was better and I was okay and things were good. But the truth was that things were really bad in my life at the time. I was really depressed. I was really suicidal, and it wasn't getting better. And I remember sitting on this beach with her, and the sun was setting, And it was so calm and so peaceful, and she asked how I was really doing, and I told her the truth. And this was a time in my life when I didn't do that very often. I liked to pretend more back then than I ever had, ever. And I told her the truth about what was going on. And she didn't say things to try and fix it, but she sat with me in that. And she cried with me, and she looked at me, and she told me that I was okay, and I was safe there. And she didn't have to say that because I felt that. It was this awareness of what was real. But it was like in the safety net telling me that you're okay. Like, we're not going to pretend this didn't happen, because that's so polar opposite of these other experiences that happen to me sometimes, when it's like all of a sudden I get this really heavy awareness of my story, of things that have happened, of like hurts and pains that have happened. And it sends me down this dark spiral because it just feels like too much. Like, oh my gosh, wait, this really happened? This was actually really bad. It's like my coping mechanism of pretending it wasn't that bad kind of fails for a second. And I open my eyes and realize this trail of pain that I really want to work through. Like, I want it to be gone. And in those moments, it sends me down the spiral of either wanting to run away and like move or something, or honestly just wanting to take my life and be done because it feels impossible. It's too dark. If all that's true, then what does that mean for me? It's a really different kind of knowing, and I don't know how to express what the differences are, but that kind of pain makes the tension in my shoulders make sense. But that holy sacred knowing that I heard when I was sitting listening to the horses, or sitting on the beach with my best friend, or sitting closing my eyes picturing the most pure, genuine version of who I've known God to be, sitting with me in a golden field, I feel like that is what gives my shoulders permission to relax, to rest, to not be on guard. It was really special. It was a really important therapy session that I had when I realized this. And it's interesting because a while back my therapist told me that I always get really insecure about doing therapy wrong. I ask her probably once every other session if I'm doing it all wrong. And I'm like, be honest, am I doing this wrong? Every single time. She's so patient. She just says, no, Jackie, there's no wrong way to do therapy. Like, there is a wrong way to do therapy, but I'm not doing it wrong. And what she told me a while back was that I have everything I need already in order to heal, in order to step forward, in order to be okay. And her role is to guide me in that. And I didn't believe her back then when she told me that, but I think after this last session, after the last like 2 or 3 sessions, I really have started to believe her. And it's a really empowering thing to know. So we have what we need, but we have to acknowledge that and look at that. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have a lot more that I want to say as per usual, but we're going to pause for right now. If you're interested in reading my book, Finding Home, I just got a new shipment of those in the mail. It would mean the world to me if you supported me by buying one of those books. That story is really close to my heart. The first half is kind of like a decline where I hit my rock bottom and slowly began to lose myself. And then the second half is me learning how to step back inside my own body. And it's a really important story for me to share. So if you're interested in that, then you can go to my website, jackiegtv.com, or click the link in the description box below. Thank you for watching these videos. I will see you next week.